Hi, this is Stephen from Owner Giissmo. Now this is my first video showcasing the performance of a laptop by one of my viewers. Karibs, who you will find on our Discord server, purchased the Lenovo Legion 5i with the 12700H and the RTX 3070 Ti. Karibs did all of the testing and all of the gameplay footage. I actually reviewed the Legion 5i Pro with the 12700H and the 3060. So if you haven't seen that video, click up here. But before we jump into the testing, a quick word from today's sponsor, Giissmo. Now they sell various docks for use on your laptop. Today I have the 14:2 multifunctional USB-C docking station. That is for the MacBook Pro and the MacBook Air. It also supports the M1 Max MacBook, but the regular M1 can only extend to one monitor. In the box you get the dock, instruction manual and a double USB 3.2 Gen 2 cable. The dock is made of solid aluminium and is very clean looking. It is lightweight and it's about the same size as your hand, so it is easy to take with you on a trip or keep it on your desk. Now underneath are two rubber feet so it won't slide all over your desk. You get two USB 3.1 Gen 1 Type A ports, two USB 3.1 Gen 2 Type A, a USB 3.1 Gen 2 Type C port, you get an SD and a micro SD card slot, you get two HDMI 2 ports which are good for 4K 60Hz, you get a 3.5mm headphone jack and also an Ethernet port. There is another USB-C port that accepts up to 100 watts power delivery. Now this must be used if you're using the Ethernet jack and the HDMI ports. Now I was able to power an external 2.5-inch mechanical drive without any external power to the dock. Unfortunately, I don't have a MacBook, but I was able to get to use the SD card slots and the USB ports on my Windows laptop. To use the HDMI ports and Ethernet jack, you will have to connect the double USB-C cable to your MacBook and the other end to the two host USB-C ports. I think for a MacBook user, it's a very good dock, giving your laptop pretty much desktop functionality whilst keeping your setup nice and clean looking. Right now, it is on sale on Amazon, $140, reduced from $180. Now similar docks on the Apple website cost an eye-bleeding $300, so this Giissmo dock represents great value, and I'll leave a link for it in the description below. Okay, back to the Legion 5i. It was interesting. My 5i Pro ran Cinebench R23 at 105 watts in performance mode, whilst Karibs ran at only 86 watts. Although we both got a similar single score of about 1790, the 12700H at 86 watts got a multi-core score of 16,589, whilst mine at 105 watts scored about 18,000 points. Now after he provided me with this data, he repasted the laptop and used a custom Lenovo Legion toolkit that allowed him to disable dynamic boost and increase the power of both the CPU and the GPU. He is now able to keep the 3070 Ti at 150 watts, whilst also increasing the CPU power too. Karibs reran the Cinebench R23 test, this time setting the 12700H to run at 134 watts, and he got a massive 19,000 points. Now that is not far off a 12800HX processor. If you have a Legion laptop and are interested in finding out more about the custom toolkit that he used, please reach out to Karibs in our Discord server. So in all of the benchmarks, he used the native resolution of 2560 by 1600. He disabled VSync, disabled any frame rate limiters, and ran at 100% resolution scale. And all tests were performed using performance mode, without the power tweaks I mentioned earlier. Now unfortunately, his Riva tuner overlay is a little bit small, so I do try to increase that a little bit in post, so you can actually see the power, the clock rates, utilization and the frame rate. Now first up is Assassin's Creed Odyssey using ultra high settings. The 12700H is running at 95 degrees, even when at about 48 watts. Now my Legion 5i Pro was a good 20 degrees cooler, so this is probably why Karibs chose to repaste it. Now this is a concern, as most people are not comfortable about doing a repaste themselves. I mean, myself, I have a Legion 7 with a 5800H. It's about 1 year old now, and already the pace seems to have gone bad, as mine too goes into the mid-90s. So I will be doing a repacing video on that. Still, he got a good average FPS of 63, but his minimums were only 6 FPS. Next up is control, using high settings with no ray tracing. The 3070Ti uses close to 150 watts and has very good utilization. And Carib's got a decent 55 FPS. Naturally, this can be boosted if you use DLSS, and this is a mighty fine result. Now with ray tracing set to high and with DLSS, the RTX 3070Ti drops to 140 watts because the DLSS puts more onus on the CPU. We still get about 55 FPS, which is great. DLSS works great and allows you to take advantage of ray tracing effects. In Cyberpunk 2077, using ultra settings with no motion blur, DLSS or ray tracing, the CPU still runs hot in the mid-90s. But it does get a playable 45 FPS. Who needs an RTX 4000 laptop? Doom Eternal, Ultra Nightmare Mode, ray tracing and DLSS set to off. So even with these balls to the wall settings and 2560 by 1600 resolution, Carib's still got an average of 161 FPS, which is perfect for this 165Hz G-Sync display. Far Cry 5 Ultra settings using the inbuilt benchmark. The 12700H goes up to 97 degrees even during this short test. The Legion 5i averaged 156 FPS with a minimum of 112. Now we have Shadow of Mordor using ultra settings and windowed mode set to borderless. Again, using the inbuilt benchmark, we get a respectable average of 141 FPS with a minimum of 102. Carib's also tested Shadow of War using ultra settings and also the windowed mode set to borderless. This game also has an in-game benchmark, and at these settings he achieved 91 FPS on average. Now Spider-Man Remastered can really work a laptop hard. Carib's uses high settings, and the fight scenes do see some frame rate drops, but the Legion's 5i still averaged 80 FPS. If you do decide to use ray tracing, it may be best to also allow dynamic resolution scaling. Finally, we have Tom Clancy's the Division 2 using ultra settings. Again, using the inbuilt benchmark, Carib's averaged 80 FPS, which is great. Certainly, I was very impressed with the 3060 version of this laptop. Mine definitely ran cooler. So if you run into the same thermals as Carib's did and are not comfortable, you may want to exchange it, because it'll only get hotter as time goes on. Once it stops throttling, the 12700H will be one of the best performing ones out there. And the RTX 3070Ti is clearly more than capable and will be good for a few years yet. Now, this model of the Legion 5i currently sells for $1,819 before tax, and Lenovo often has all kinds of coupon codes and discounts for military and students, so you should be able to get this price down some. Now I'd like to give a big thanks to Carib for providing all of these test results. And if anyone wants to share the performance of their laptop, I would gladly link their YouTube channel to help drive more traffic to it. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.